show on 710 KNUS, and along with Mark Crowley and Kelly Michaels and, of course, Billy Thorpe, we create what was called The Shoot. This is episode 2 of The Shoot. The first one with Tom Tancredo was an overwhelming success, and I thank Tommy. But principally, I want to talk about my doctor, Dr. Julie McCallan, my physician, my dear friend, fellow motorcyclist, and of course, she is Centogenics, underwriting all of this. Look at me. I'm an old man. She changed my life. I can do radio, TV, go to the gym, ride pedal bikes, go skiing, and ride motorcycles because of one person. That's right. Doctor, thank you so much. Julie McCallan, someday she'll sit in this chair and do it as well. For the second episode of The Shoot, and we talked about it, Dick Wadhams. Now, Dick Wadhams is, I know that because we have degrees of who gets hated in Colorado.
Here I am.
Here you are. And, you know, like, we are told that we're the most hated radio show in Denver, which I think is pretty amazing given who's doing radio in Denver.
Really?
I thought we're worse than who? So anyhow, so Dick has always been a part of our shows, and we always take heat when Dick comes on. It's one of these people like Brother Jeff who's going to be here. You just announced Brother Jeff in the Mail Star.
Right. Yeah. And he's great, by the way. I love
Brother Jeff.
Yeah.
So Dick Wadhams is with us, and of course, you ran the GOP. What years were you?
2007 to 2011.
Talk about your career. How you got in business? I got so many questions. How'd you get in?
You know, I grew up on a farm in southeastern Colorado, Pete, and there was nothing in my family's background to suggest a political pursuit. But, you know, I got interested in high school and started volunteering, and did so in college, and then frankly, I got offered to be paid to do the stuff I was doing, and I thought, well, that's kind of cool. I kind of like this political stuff.
The money?
The President Ford campaign, 1976.
Oh, wow.
They asked me to be a field guy for Southern Colorado, and they said, if you take out a semester from school and just work for us full time, we'll pay you. And I thought, wow. Well, you kind of get hooked after that.
Sure.
And so, and then I've been doing it ever since. And so it's been.
It was Gerald Ford.
Yeah.
Did you ever meet him?
Yes, I met him a few years later after he was president.
I understand he was a great guy.
Well, I always admired him, and I really do think that he restored trust and back to the presidency after Nixon. I really do.
I agree.
And I know a lot of Republicans didn't like him and they wanted Reagan, and I understood that, but I think he deserved more credit than he got.
You know, I never met him, but he went to Vail, lived in Vail, and he skied, and because I love skiing, and I've crossed over with guys that knew him, and they said, hey, Pete, if you didn't know he was Gerald Ford,
right,
which is always the giveaway.
Yeah.
You know, he never acted imperial.
Yeah. I've got a picture with him, and I love that photo. I'm in a suit, and he's in his golf outfit.
Oh yeah, I mean, guys know him. I mean, I didn't meet him, but I did meet their daughter, who I don't know if she's still running Betty Ford.
Susan Ford,
But she, because Betty Ford built Betty Ford,
right?
And we're talking about Bill Daniels, who was really a big underwriter. And they actually, in recovery, they call it Camp Betty.
Oh, really?
That's what it's called. Yeah,
oh, wow. Okay.
I went to Camp Betty.
Okay.
And she was really cool. I mean, I really liked her. And, usually kids and their parents.
Right.
But she was very cool. But Betty Ford was remarkable.
Yeah. Oh, I agree.
A great first lady.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
We were talking before this thing began, thank you to Mark Crowley, about the one, the only Lynn Wood. And so Lynn Wood used to threaten me. Now you got threatened.
I got threatened.
Tell the story.
Well, I worked for Bill Owens as the press secretary to Governor Owens, and in the middle of all the Jean-Benet Ramsey controversy, when Owens, remember he called a.
I used to write his stuff.
Okay. Oh, really?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
He had a special prosecutor or something. Or I can't remember exactly what we were doing.
They were trying to take it away from Alex Hunter.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Anyway, in the middle of that, of course, I got quoted all the time as press secretary, and I said something that day that irritated Lynn Wood. My cell phone rings, and that was before caller ID. Yeah. I'm thinking I better answer it. It could be a reporter.
Sure.
This is Lynn Wood, and I'm just calling to tell you I will be suing you over what you said this morning. And I said, well, I guess we're going to terminate this conversation. And then it went straight into our legal counsel's office, and he said, don't worry about it. I'll call Wood. But yeah, I'm thinking he couldn't sue me. But it was kind of intimidating, though, still, Peter, because,
Sure it is.
I've
been sued.
Yeah. But no, there was no threat to me. But yeah, I thought, boy, this guy really is aggressive.
Well, he used to threaten. They were, because we were getting slap suited a couple of times. And I was the one, we'll talk about it some other show, but I ended up in Jefferson County, and they're going to throw me in jail.
Oh, wow.
Well, because I took the press shield and said, "Wait, because
Okay.
I'd seen the note, and
Okay.
I'd seen the ransom note like, I don't know, 2 weeks, and everybody wanted the ransom note. And then,
Right.
I remember all those people from the tabloids came from Florida.
Oh, God. Yeah.
You talk about it.
Oh, it was a circus. Yeah, it was
That
great.
was a time. But anyhow,
Yeah.
because I never told who showed it to me.
Right.
But a guy had a badge, and he showed it to me, and not the real one. Maybe tell the story, but a copy, a photocopy of. It was like in the encyclopedia of ransom notes. It was it was like tears down, and this was like
Wow.
on. Anyhow, so this guy takes me and the former missus to dinner and
Wow.
offers her a diamond ring if I could get the. But anyhow, I ended up. Then they give that story up, and I end up in court.
Wow.
But Lynn Wood used to leave voicemails. Me and Caplis.
I wish you would have kept those.
You know, I kicked myself, hi, and it had that voice, that certain
Yeah.
voice.
Oh, yeah.
This is Lynn Wood, and Caplis and I were doing some television show, and Caplis, in only the manner that Caplis said, faces the camera and says, "Hey, Lynn, bring it."
Yeah.
Caplis, and I'm going,
Oh,
let's get after it.
good for that. I mean,
Danny took
Dan's a great lawyer.
That's my guy. Danny took him, and we never heard again. But
Right.
You watch this stuff. Linwood now has gone
Well, he ended up moving to
South Carolina.
to run for Republican state chairman.
Yes, I know.
He moves there and starts, which is kind of arrogant when you think about it. And he got killed. He didn't even come close. In fact, the state chairman he challenged, the incumbent, was a strong Trump supporter, and it didn't make any sense at all, and the guy got beat pretty bad.
What do you think happened to them? I mean, what happened to a lot of those guys that you and I were talking about before the cameras started rolling? Lynn Wood is nuts.
Yes. I mean, some of the stuff he has come up with, it makes you wonder what happened, because I don't think he was nuts back during the John Bonet trial or the stuff.
He got the Ramses. He worked that
Yes.
idiot district attorney up there pretty well.
Yeah. Well, people, I'm starting to figure out, Peter, after all these years in politics, that some people just lose their perspective and their grasp of reality.
I haven't seen that in talk radio.
And I mean, honestly, I watched this stuff on the stolen election. And the fraudulent election, and what's going on in Grand Junction, and then just all over the country. And I'm thinking, what has happened to what I think are, normally smart people? I mean, what's happened?
I have
don't
a
know.
better question.
Yeah.
The Republican Party in Colorado has less elected power right now.
Yes.
Anytime since 1945, the end of the Second World War.
Yes.
Okay, that's a better question. I mean, they tie in.
Yeah.
But what's happened?
Well, it started back in 2004 when the Blueprint crowd, they sunk all that money in, they beat a bunch of Republican incumbents, and then, frankly, we fielded a bunch of bad candidates who ran bad campaigns since 2002, Peter. And remember, in 2002, Senator Allard and Governor Owens were reelected. Great night for Republicans.
Big.
Haven't had a night like this since. And we've had 10 elections for governor and senator since then. We've lost 9 of them.
Yeah, I know.
And if you look at several of those elections, not every one of them was winnable, but most of them were. And there's a common thread, a kind of a weak candidate who had no agenda and no real campaign. And the Democrats just ran roughshod over him. And we've got to get out of that. We've got candidates who need to understand the Colorado electorate. And this whole notion that we can just blow off unaffiliated voters, we've never been able to do that. I mean, unaffiliateds have always been at least a third. Now they're 43% of the electorate.
Absolutely.
And so I'm still optimistic that even given what we've had the last several elections, that if we nominate strong candidates for these statewide offices, we can still win, especially given Polis's and Biden's record going into this election.
I think, and I've run that gag before, snatching defeat from the jaws of victory.
Yes.
Right now, the Republican Party, and they lost a bunch of people in January to what happened in January in D.C. And they didn't pretend that didn't happen.
Oh, no, I've heard the other version, that they left because the party was not standing by Trump. Yes, I'm thinking, really?
Nonsense. Of course, it's an excuse, and of course, excuses are like certain parts of your body. Everybody's got one.
Right.
And I look at these people, you're not facing reality.
No.
Then the idea is, we want to shut down the primary. What do you do with that?
Listen, when that law passed a few years ago, back in 2016, I wasn't terribly excited about it. But you know what? The people voted. That's the law now. Those are the rules of the game. And it doesn't make any sense to whine about it and to decide, well, we're getting screwed by the rules. Well, You know what? In fact, I think it's an opportunity, Peter. If I was running a campaign again, I would say to my candidate, listen, we've got to use this as an opportunity, not to whine about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what I would do, in fact, this is what I did with both Owens and Allard back in 98 and 96. You craft a conservative message that is appealing to unaffiliated voters. You don't go around bashing these unaffiliated voters. You try to appeal to them with a Republican conservative platform.
Absolutely.
And you can do that.
All right, now, there's become a litmus test
Yes.
to be a Republican. You have to believe two things. The principle, it's like becoming an evangelical Christian. You have to have two, or actually I think there's three with that. First of all, you got to believe that the election was stolen from Donald Trump.
Right.
And then you got to believe the vaccine or the vax, et cetera, the jab is some cosmic,
Yes.
it's going to screw up your genetic code or what, I mean, and that's crazy. But if you can't say those two things,
Right.
can you run?
Especially the first one. I don't know. And what's ironic about the vaccine is that Donald Trump created the vaccine. I mean, to his credit. I mean, he's saving millions of lives by what he did. But I'm worried about the first one. I'm afraid that we're going to have a bunch of candidates, everything from county commissioner up to U.S. senator, that are going to have to take a position on this stolen election thing.
And it's a loser.
And it is a loser.
But if you have a select group of people hand-picking candidates, you know, we tend to pick ourself.
Yes.
And if these are the people who believe it was stolen,
Yeah.
and they believe the vax is whatever they believe it is,
Yeah.
some witch's brew, inoculation, and government control,
Right.
and all this insanity that we all read, listen to, and hear.
Yes.
And if you can't adhere to that, then you can't be our candidate. And of course, the middle of Colorado, the 43% of, and 41%, 43,
Yes. 43 now.
of unaffiliated
Yeah.
people, it's like knock on a door, it's like an unwanted Jehovah's Witness.
I know.
mean, like, Donald Trump really won. Slam.
Yes.
Next.
Yeah, because these are the same people who voted against Republicans, in my opinion, in 2020 and 2018 because they were so fed up with Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And
That's what
and
happened.
they didn't like him. And now, so we're going to go back and say, well, the guy you hate, the election was stolen from him.
Yeah.
that really sells.
Or better yet, Dick Wadhams, Peter
Yeah.
Boyles here, of course, on the shoot. I look at this and I think to myself, I voted for Donald Trump twice.
I did too.
But Donald Trump
I did
lost
too.
twice.
Yes.
So let's go find a Donald Trump candidate and run him in Colorado. I'm thinking,
That's right.
I mean, this can't be but the real problem, many Republican Party problems, where's the candidate?
Right.
Where are the candidates?
Right.
And if they're going to be hand selected by people who believe in the conspiracy,
Yeah.
and you need people in Northland, we talked about this. My children's safety in school, the roads. I mean, we can give you a list of things
Absolutely.
that are really. What else is important?
Well, education.
Number
I mean,
one.
yeah, you know, and
schools.
but you're right, Peter. And we
Critical race theory. I give you a list.
Yes, the issues are clear, and there are issues that the Democrats have failed, especially Polis and the legislative majorities. But no, we can win this election. But you had a caller one day on your show. This is several months ago, who correctly pointed out we lack people who are coming through. I guess the chairs. I mean, you know, for years, you know, Bill Armstrong, Hank Brown, Wayne Allard, Cory Gardner, and Bill Owens all served in the legislature before they ran for higher office. Now, I don't think that's a requirement, but I do think, and I don't think the voters consciously say, well, they need to do that, but I do think that allows them to build the kind of political support, they kind of sharpen their own political instincts and agendas. And we lack that now. And Ken Buck already ran once and lost statewide. Doug Lamborn cannot run statewide. I mean, I love Congresswoman Boebert, but honestly, she could not run statewide very effectively. She's doing a great job. But we just don't have those people standing there that we can just not automatically, but who can step up. And that's the challenge right now.
We just lost Dick Lamb. He came up through the ranks.
Yes, he did. He was in the legislature for 8 years before he ran.
Nighthorse Campbell.
Ben Nighthorse Campbell as well. Well, even on the Democratic side, for the most part, I mean, they've come up through that. But so we're now searching around. I mean, Heidi Ganahl is running for governor. She's a CU regent. I think she's got potential. But you know, this is a big step. CU regent that nobody even knows exists. Governor of Colorado. I mean, so she's got a big road in front of her. So.
And it takes money and recognition. There was.
It does.
Who was it telling me? Oh, Sean Duffy. I think it was Duffy said. I said, you know, we couldn't get. Was it Sean Duffy? because Sean, if I misquote you, I'm sorry, but I said I couldn't get those guys to return phone calls. Corey Gardner,
Oh, I know.
a list of people, and they said to me, well, they were afraid of you. I said, afraid of me doing this goofball show? Oh yeah, but they were, and that has nothing to do with me. It shows you how weak they were.
No, I agree. I totally agree with you. I think that was a mistake. Any Republican who doesn't go on your show, it's a mistake.
Show us the idea. Where are you?
Yeah,
Dude?
well, that's true. But if you're afraid, it's just like I know that people who thought that Ken Buck should not have done Meet the Press interview back when. If you're afraid to do that kind of stuff,
just get out.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be willing to go into these forums that might not be as comfortable as a Republican women's club.
I have a bad story about that too. I know, and I look at this stuff and I look at the Republican Party, and Cory Gardner should have not lost that race.
That's one we probably disagree there, Peter, because I think the anti-Trump sentiment was so strong in Colorado that he had a narrow window, which was to find enough Trump voters who might have voted for him in the Senate race. And he did run 5 points ahead of Trump.
Yeah.
But Trump lost by 14, so he ended up losing by 9.
Yeah, but his ads and his programming and his culture, Dick, it was...
Oh, the homeless issue that you've talked about, I totally agree with you. That was so that was sitting there. I agree with you there.
I really don't want to be senator, would not be a very good senator, and now I'd like to be senator.
Yes.
Never saw the ad.
Yeah.
The John Hickenlooper's Road Home, I get on a list of things. Never saw the ad.
The ethics violations that he did.
We did it. Hickenlooper goes to the Bilderberg.
Yes.
What? I said, no, this is a good one. No, we don't. And I went. He went to the Bilderberg. Dude.
And he's a worthless senator right now.
But that's not the point.
I know.
You think yourself like, and here's my sense, and I listened to these Republicans, and then I pugged a little, and I was thinking it's like prize fighting. So your opponent boxed more, sparred more rounds, lifted more weights, ate better, slept better, run the road, hit the bag, hit the heavy bag, hit the speed bag, did skip rope, and he beat you.
Yes.
And they're going, oh, he beat me. And like, he's the bad guy for beating me. He beat you. And if it's in the hands of these other people... See,
that's the thing. I go back to this whining. I mean, the election was stolen from us. Really?
Wasn't.
I mean, was the Super Bowl stolen from the Broncos when the Seahawks kicked their butt? No. Seahawks were better, as you say.
And I come back to, the Mike Tyson-Buster Douglas fight.
Yes.
Buster Douglas should have never won that fight, but he did.
Right.
Because Mike Tyson wasn't ready. He was on Prozac, and he was in all these emotional problems, and he didn't train, and he gets in the ring in Tokyo, and he gets beat by Buster Douglas. I'm taking nothing away from Buster Douglas, but you got beat.
Yeah.
And so we sit at this crossroads. When you look back on your career, people always ask the highlights. What was the low light? What was the moment?
Well, the low light had to be the collapse of Senator George Allen in Virginia when he called that kid macaca, which was a disparaging term.
I remember.
He had been such a successful governor of Virginia, and
you were on that campaign.
Yeah, I was chief of staff then. I moved over to the campaign, and it just collapsed. I mean, it just collapsed
underneath him. What was wrong with him doing that?
I have never been able to answer that question because, yeah, I mean, in various ways. But no, we were sitting there almost coasting to a victory, and that just set off a series of problems that we could not get out from under.
For the people, it was a very detrimental. It's a racist.
Yeah, but I mean, it was, and but I've had a lot more highlights than that. I mean, helping to elect Bill Owens the first governor in 28 years, and now the only governor in 50. I mean, that was, and then Senator Allard, Wayne Allard, as you know, was the ultimate underdog. In fact, I had a newspaper publisher call me up when he read I was. No, it was from out of state.
I got a dean.
Actually, I'll tell you, it was the Grand Junction Sentinel, who I knew well. Right. And he called me up and he said, Wadhams, this is embarrassing. Wayne Allard cannot win anything. And I said, well, we disagree. Yeah. And we beat Gail Norton, who was a much more higher profile candidate. And then we beat Tom Strickland, your favorite law firm.
You know what? But Strickland got punched out. But who's the law firm guy, the law professor?
In the primary, yes.
Was his last name Nichols?
Gene Nichols. Yeah.
And he called him a lawyer lobbyist.
Yes, and we picked that up and we ran with it. Yeah.
And I liked Allard. I mean, he was a vet.
He's a good man.
He really is. Veterinarian, and
And you know what people, Bill Armstrong had a name for Allard. He said he wears well. And that's the thing. Wayne was the guy you probably wouldn't notice when you walked in the room, but the more he was there, you say, boy, what a good guy.
He was a great guy.
Strickland the other way. He walks in a room, wow, that's impressive.
Handsome, tall.
Yeah, you grab your wallet, you grab your wife.
Oh, no.
I mean, no, I don't know.
No.
But,
if these walls could talk.
Yeah, exactly.
But the other part of that was interesting was you mentioned Bill Armstrong.
Yes, yeah.
We were opposed on half of the issues.
Right.
I adored him.
He was a good man.
A great man. And I ended up writing stuff for him.
I worked for him for 9 years in the Senate.
Really?
Yes, that was one of my first jobs as a really young guy, 24 years old.
God, he was.
And I loved working for him. There wasn't a day that went by, Peter, that I didn't wake up thinking, this is the greatest job in the world. How did I ever get this?
And a good man, and he was.
Yeah.
You know, back there, there's a great book called Boss about, and Mike Royko's book about the dailies.
Yes.
Armstrong was a boss.
Yes. Yeah.
Talk about that.
Well, I mean, he kind of revived the Republican Party outside of Watergate, and
really did.
And then he was the Republican Party because we lost all these governor's races back then, and he really built. I mean, you look back on the people who were dominant in the party, who were involved in the party, all through the 80s and 90s. They were Armstrong people.
Absolutely.
I mean, he brought them into the process, and so he really was the Colorado Republican Party during that time. And not to take anything away from a lot of great state legislators and congressmen, but he really, I think if you ask any one of them, they would say he was the guy.
I used to go sit and talk with him. I mean, I think, I think he liked, modestly, he says, smart people.
Yeah.
And he was way smart.
Yeah.
And he got the media because his family owned newspapers, and they owned
the Colorado Springs Sun.
KOSI, they owned a radio station.
KOSI, and they, those are the two main ones. But Peter, the untold story about Bill Armstrong. There was some speculation in the media about him running for president in '88. He had the support of the conservative Republican senator from New Hampshire at the time, Gordon Humphrey, who wanted him to run. The publisher of the that newspaper. Is that what it is?
He made and broke preach.
They wanted him to run. They were going to editorial endorse him. I mean, there were indications they were going to endorse him.
Who did they make cry? Remember they made
Muskie.
Muskie.
Yes, and I mean, he had conservatives all over the nation who were kind of going to stick with Bush because he was Reagan's vice president, but they said, if you get in, we will bolt. And we kept talking to him, and he finally said, it ain't going to happen, guys. I'm not going to do it. Yeah. So I wish he would.
But he was, he was running Christian University.
Yes.
And and I'm not a religious guy, but he would call, I loved him.
I mean,
when I tell people, there was a guy that you were respected.
Oh.
If we had him back, running the Republican Party in Colorado.
Somebody asked me one day, because he was a very strong evangelical Christian, and they asked me, and I'm Catholic, I'm not evangelical, and they asked me, did Armstrong make you guys do stuff?
No.
I said, you've got to be kidding.
No.
I said, we had Jewish members of our staff, I mean, but if anybody wanted to talk to him about his faith, he was always welcome, you were welcome, but no, not one time did he ever abuse that.
No, and he knew how I felt, and I knew how he felt.
Yeah.
And he would just say, how's your family?
Sure.
And that was, and if you wanted to tell him, he was we need a Bill Armstrong.
Oh, I know. No, I think about that a lot, Peter.
So, Bill gets out of it, and, and then it's the rise of what? It's the rise of...
Well, I mean, Hank Brown was a very good senator, and he only spent one term. I mean, Hank walked away after one term. I wish he hadn't.
He was the only guy voted against. Remember, he read... Was it Jack? I mean, we used to sit and talk. He did. I thought he was another one.
Well, remember what else he did? He got appointed to the Ways and Means Committee in the House of Representatives. He went back to night school to become a CPA so he could understand the tax code better. Who does that?
No, him. He read, was it Nabed or Gad or something? He read like 1,000 pages, and I'm in awe of him. And he's the one who voted against it because he read it.
Yes.
What's a great law? We'll pass it. We'll see what's in it. Who said that? Pelosi.
Pelosi about the Obamacare.
Yeah. That's good.
No, he was a great senator.
He was a really good guy.
Wayne was not the visible senator that Armstrong and Brown, but Wayne diligently did his work as a senator and did all kinds of things around the state. He was a very good senator as well. But anyway, so.
What happened to these guys? Where are they?
Well, I think about that. I mean, having been involved with all of them, running their campaigns, working in their offices. I wonder about that, Peter. I don't know. I mean, they've got to come forward. I know they're out there. But I just don't know who they are right now.
This is before I went away to Sturgis, and a guy that if I said his name, everybody would know it. And he'd be perfect for either Bennett or Polis. He said, I'm not going near this.
Well, because of the primary process.
And not that, because of the crazy.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
okay.
They'd have to walk through this gauntlet of answering the stolen election stuff.
The vaccines.
And I got to tell you, that's the consideration.
I mean, this guy. I'm thinking, man, I run. Run. And in the city of Denver, Kevin Flynn and I are really close friends.
I liked him as a reporter. I mean, he's a great reporter.
I had dinner with him at the press club a couple of Fridays ago. I said, run for mayor.
Yeah.
They go, oh. I said, come on, And
he might be able to win.
He could walk it in.
I think
he's a decent man. He's a good husband. A
lot of liberals in Denver are fed up with Denver and the homelessness. Yeah.
Well, and when is the last time you saw a poll? We saw the Biden polls. When's the last time you saw a poll on the favorability of the mayor?
I don't know.
No.
When he ran?
When's the last time? Yeah. When's the last time you saw somebody say, let's unfund the cops?
Yeah.
It's all gone.
Yeah.
Kevin Flynn,
yes.
Kevin's running for re-election of his seat in council, but Kevin should run for mayor.
I wish he would.
I'm trying to get him in here.
I wish he would. I really do.
So now what?
Well, there's still a lot of time. I mean, it's September, but I still think that a lot could happen between now and next year's election. I think we can still do well.
Is Polis takeable?
Yes, I think. Yeah. Although that money advantage of his is really.
Oh, he's got.
But I could see a scenario where our candidate for governor runs really close to him, but his money advantage wins. But we could elect a Republican AG, Republican Secretary of State, which really would be important.
The new district.
Yeah, I think we're going to be doing well in the new districts, both congressional. I'd love him. Oh my
George
God.
is a great guy. I'm a big George fan.
Yes.
Does he have a shot in this?
He does. If he wants it. I think George is still working out. Do I want to do this? Do I want to go to Washington? Yeah. That's a big commitment. That back and forth is a killer, Pete. And I think that he's got kids at home. Yeah, but his daughter's going to college in Washington.
I know she is. Then there's Brockler.
Yeah.
Who else do you see?
Well, there's George, and I mentioned Heidi, who I think has potential, but not there yet.
Neville?
I think he wants to run for Congress.
Well, he does.
Yeah, but he's in the district that Ken Buck has right now.
I know.
But that could change. I mean, Douglas could end up in another district. Who knows? But
it's just crazy stuff.
Yeah, it is.
Biden is somewhere around his ankles in the ratings. What a disaster.
Yes.
Now he's years away, and what happens on a national level?
I don't think he'll run again, but it won't be Kamala Harris who replaces him.
No.
There will be. I think what will happen is gradually he'll announce he won't seek re-election, and there will be a huge number of Democrats jumping in, just like we're going to have a bunch of people. Although, if Trump gets in this presidential race, Pete, he will be the nominee. Yeah. He will not be denied the nomination.
I know. I agree, and that will be another loss.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt in my mind, and that's sad because. Think about, Pete, had he graciously left the White House, invited the Bidens, gone to the inauguration, never brought up the stolen election thing, you know what? He would probably be leading in the polls right now 10 points.
And, the lion in winter, the government in exile, go to Mar-a-Lago, hold court.
He could have really set up to run again.
And I know you're reading, which one are you reading in the books? Only I Can Fix It.
Only I Can Fix It, yes.
And after that, pick up.
Yes.
Landslide, and then pick up Rage, and
they're great.
And he had. It's the same thing with the COVID. He said, "I got it. Everybody get vaxxed." Boy, it's, he doesn't do that.
No. And what Kamala Harris said about, I won't take any vaccine that Trump made, that was so offensive. Like he was in the White House kitchen mixing it up. But he deserves so much credit for that vaccine. In fact, he deserves a lot of credit for the economy, for the border. He was a great president in so many ways, but he squandered that now by his behavior.
Final couple things. There's a factor in voter behavior called likability. Everyone loved Reagan. By the way, did you ever meet Reagan?
I got, one time at a fundraiser, and I got a picture with him, but it was like, what, 2 minutes? So that doesn't really count.
We need him.
Yeah, I know.
Armstrong, we need Ronald.
Oh, I know. No, he was a very special man at a very special time. I mean, in fact, remember, he challenged President Ford in '76.
Absolutely.
And he lost it, but that was the best thing that happened to him. Because then we got 4 years of Carter, and Carter was a disaster, and that just set up Reagan to come sweeping in 1980. So, I mean,
what a great campaign.
He knew when to lose, too.
Oh, no,
I mean, he didn't do that, but I mean,
no, but I mean, one of my regrets is Ted Crato's going down to, I don't know, someplace Pueblo or something to meet Reagan. And he said, you want to go with me? And I didn't go.
Oh, wow.
I have kicked myself.
I bet.
Just because I just want to say, hey, man, you the man, or, whatever.
No
it
doubt.
was.
Yeah.
But then how George Bush treats, he treats Tancredo. It's like, Tancredo was in here. He did this.
I've heard you talk about his interview. I've not watched it yet, but I will. I will.
Episode 2.
Right.
And although this is absolutely wonderful, this is what I hope for. But Mark Crowley and I went out in the hall after Tancredo. I said, that's it. Fold it. Don't do another one. It's like Harper Lee writes To Kill a Mockingbird and screws it up by writing Set of Watchmen.
It really was.
But
yeah.
she could. Your whole career is on that one book. So I'm walking out here with Tommy, and so this is going to happen to you when you watch the show. So it aired first time on Friday. It's had I don't know how many hundreds of hits, and he calls me at the house, and I'm with my grandson. We're watching LSU play football or something.
Right.
And it's Tom. Hey, man, how you doing? We're talking about stuff. I said, what you think of the show? And he said, I looked old. I said, you looked old. I don't like it's Tom.
Tom looks pretty good.
He
looks great. I mean, he's very great.
Leave us with something.
Well, Peter, we've been down before. I mean, I remember the Republican Party was dead in Colorado after Watergate. And then we came back with a bunch of great new state legislators, including Tom Tancredo, by the way. And then Armstrong gets elected, and we did come back. I still am optimistic that can happen again. There's a lot going on out there that are concerning that we've talked about, but the Democrats are getting more and more arrogant and more extreme, and that's going to come back to bite them.
It always is the case.
Yes.
But we got to find the right people.
I agree. And we haven't done that a lot of times.
I think back to Reagan. Reagan was the right man at the right time, in the right place.
Yes.
And he said the right things.
Yes.
And the Democrats came over and voted for him.
Yeah.
And you're not going to do it with this other gimmick.
And I'll even concede that I think nobody else would have defeated Clinton other than Donald Trump that year.
I agree.
And I wasn't a big fan of his that election, but he won, and he accomplished a lot, and that's why it's so sad to see him squander this stuff.
And the book called Shattered that we talked about, but
that's a great book.
And it was likability. People didn't like Hillary Clinton,
right?
Rightfully so.
Yeah.
I mean, people
corrupt.
When she did the what was it, the basket of deplorables or something?
Yes.
That was her moment. That's it.
And that was very revealing about what she thinks of anybody who's not in her economic class.
And so when she was another one said the election was stolen.
Exactly.
Oh, she did.
She did. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. But they backed off of it finally.
Obama backed her off.
Yeah.
In the end of that book, when she's drunk, or at least according to these witnesses, and the Saudi Arabian government, you're shocked, bought her, according to the Shattered, this big screen TV, like huge screen TV.
Yes.
She's cooked and picks up a sheet cake. I congratulate. This time it's in Shattered.
Yes.
And picks up the sheet cake and hucks it through the screen. And Obama has to call her and say, look, you need to call him.
He did.
And tell him that he won. And then Podesta goes out on the stage. We're still in the fight. We'll talk in the morning. She's cooked. She can't come out. No, she's on her rear end.
That is the greatest book.
That's a great book. Shattered. Yeah. Everybody, Dick Wadhams, this is his first appearance on What We Do, episode 2 of The Shoot. And again, I really want to take that moment. Dr. Julie McCallan, thank you, because I wouldn't be sitting here without you. And she cleaned up my act, and last week we did this, none of my clothes fit. I look like a Borscht Belt comic, the collar sticking up, because I haven't bought clothes.
Well, no.
Because, but Dr. McCallan at Centogenics, thank you for underwriting all of this. And next one's coming up. This is A Shoot. Take care of yourselves. Mark Crowley, thank you. See you next time. Thanks, Dick Wadhams, on The Shoot.